Hello everyone, you're tuning into another episode of Anime Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on shows that you may not have heard of, or shine the light a little brighter on shows that you're already familiar with. Today we'll be taking a look at the 90s battle shonen classic Yu Hakusho. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the 8th episode of Anime Spotlight. For those of you who've never seen the show, or who've seen it but need a quick reminder of what's going on, allow me to provide you with a quick synopsis. Yusuke Urameshi, a 14-year-old student, is the local delinquent you're more likely to see in a street fight than in the classroom. He doesn't think that school is for him, and rather than torture himself by sitting in boring lectures with classmates and teachers who don't like him, he often finds himself wandering around town. During one of these acts of truancy, he sees that a child has wandered into the street and is about to be hit by a car. Without thinking, he leaps into action and pushes the young boy out of the way, taking the hit in his place. When he opens his eyes, he sees a large crowd of people gathered around his body and discovers that he's no longer among the living. While still just a wandering spirit, he discovers that there is more going on in the world than he ever could have imagined. With the help of his friends, he embarks on a long journey to protect those he cares about, and maybe enjoy a fight or two along the way. Okay, with that out of the way, let's rewind back to where this all began. Yu Hakusho was written by Yoshihiro Togashi, who was born in Shinjo, a city in Japan's Yamagata Prefecture, on April 27, 1966. He began drawing manga at a very young age, drawing for fun during his first couple years of elementary school. His interest in manga didn't decline as he aged. He was a member of his high school's fine arts club, and even though he was studying to become a teacher while he attended Yamagata University, years of college that he started submitting manga to publishers. Even though he had some success early on with the publication of Tanda Birthday Present and Jura no Miduki, the latter of the two receiving an honorable mention for Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump Hopstep Award, his third work is what really jump-started his career as a mangaka. In 1987, at the age of 21, Yoshihiro Togashi wrote Butobi Straight. Butobi Straight revolves around a main character who could be described as a bit of a delinquent and happens to resemble a certain someone who is trying to become the captain of his school's baseball team. Butobi Straight would go on to win the 34th Tezuka Award, the most prestigious award for new manga artists. In an interview that he participated in after winning the award, Yoshihiro Togashi revealed that he created this work specifically to apply for the award and to test his abilities as a mangaka. I created this work to apply for the Tezuka Award, to test myself. If I think of it now, at this point, and even now really, I didn't really have a good drawing technique yet. However, at the time I could stay up for 3 days straight without a problem, and that was my weapon. Everyone, please use that overabundant power and put it into a theme you really want to draw. Pursuing that without becoming greedy and while narrowing down what you want to incorporate is important. Togashi made his professional debut on May 1st, 1989, when Shueisha printed his one-shot manga Okami Nate Koakani, or I'm Not Afraid of the Wolf, in Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 20. This, obviously, was a huge milestone in his young career, and he said as much in the author's note. Nice to meet you. I'm moved, emotionally, by being included in this magazine for the first time. I'll draw better next time. I'm Not Afraid of the Wolf was re-released by Shueisha on October 9th, 1989, as a collection of 6 one-shots written by Togashi between 1987 and 1989. I'm Not Afraid of the Wolf, Occult Tante Dan Part 1, Occult Tante Dan Part 2, Horror Angel, Tanda Birthday Present, and Butobi Straight. Interestingly enough, many of these one-shots were school-based comedies that contained references to horror movies. These elements would pop up again in his later works, highlighting Togashi's interest in horror movies and the occult. He happens to have a strong appreciation for horror movies that involve ghosts and zombies, with his favorites being Joyu Rei, or Ghost Actress, and Dawn of the Dead. It wasn't very long after his debut that he started making a name for himself as a mangaka. While he did work on Tendei Shuaru Cupid from July 11, 1989 to February 27, 1990, it was his next manga, Yu Hakusho, that propelled him into stardom. But things weren't exactly going smoothly. Actually, Togashi sees Tendei Shuaru Cupid as a failure. He said that, back then, I felt really intimidated by other manga artists because of how powerful they were. I remember thinking I had to steal some fan posts from one of them just to stay alive in the business, but they were all too powerful to touch, so the desire to keep it running wasn't there. But in spite of this, he was determined to make something better. With the love-themed comics, I felt as if I was biting off more than I could chew because I was trying to do something beyond my abilities. So for the next one, I wanted to work on something I actually enjoyed that could gain popularity. Eventually, I realized that it would be a battle-themed comic. After all, battles are a staple of Shonen Jump stories, so I thought I'd try my luck in that field to see what happens. Even though it was supposed to be a battle manga, Yu Hakusho didn't exactly start with a bang. According to Togashi, my supervisor was uncomfortable with me doing this since it was my first battle manga. So instead, he asked me to start out with a good story and eventually transitioned to battles from the 30th volume or so. I agreed to do this to get the green light. The structure for the entire series was laid out before it began, and it was influenced by other manga. Kinnikuman is a good comparison. It started out as a gag manga, but eventually they had the Chojin Olympics. The thinking behind this is to build up the characters first, so the readers gain a certain amount of familiarity with them, and once that is established, put them in tense battle situations. I was pretty impressed by this formula after seeing it work. While Togashi doesn't quite remember exactly when he started working on it, he believes that he began writing Yu Hakusho in November of 1990. Initially, he didn't even know what he wanted to call it. In the early drafts he submitted to his editors, the title of the story was actually How to Be a Ghost. Once his story was selected for publication, he suggested changing the title to Yuyu, or Poltergeist Chronicles, because the series revolved around fighting demons. Unfortunately for Togashi, there was already a published manga with a similar name, Chiyuki. So he decided to change the name of his manga to Yu Hakusho, or Ghost Files. He also considered changing the name to Yuyu Den, Ghost Legend, or Yuyu Monogatari, Ghost Story. But Yu Hakusho was the first thing that he thought of. Yu Hakusho was published in Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump magazine between 1990 and 1994. During its 4-year run, it had 175 chapters published in 19 tankobon volumes, sold over 50 million copies in Japan alone, and Togashi won the Shigakukan Manga Award for Best Shonen in 1993. However, despite how things may have appeared to those on the outside looking in, things weren't always going well for Yoshihiro Togashi. To keep up with the weekly production run, he had to write 20-page chapters every week for 4 years. Because of his work on Yu Hakusho, along with other projects that he may have been working on at the time, he was working for a large portion of the day and didn't have much time to sleep. On top of that, a large percentage of his earnings were taxed, and he began having back problems, which caused him to rush the manga's ending. This also explains why the artwork in the manga's final volumes declined in quality. All of these issues placed a large amount of stress on Togashi, so much so that he almost decided to end the manga in December of 1993 at the end of Susui's arc. Yu Hakusho's anime adaptation was directed by Noriyuki Abe and aired from October 10, 1992 to January 7, 1995 on Japan's Fuji television station. It was produced by Fuji Television, Yamako Advertising, and Studio Pro and ran for 112 episodes. While generally the anime is very faithful to the original manga, there were some minor changes, including the amount of violence, the level of profanity, and small changes to the series' art style. The anime was divided into 4 seasons, which were called sagas in Funimation's releases. Season 1, The Spirit Detective Saga, Season 2, The Dark Tournament Saga, Season 3, The Chapter Black Saga, and Season 4, Saga of the Three Kings. The Spirit Detective Saga aired between October 1992 and April 1993 and included episodes 1 through 25. This saga covers the first 6 volumes of the original manga, from Goodbye Material World to The Dark Martial Arts Association Begins, The Dark Tournament. The Dark Tournament Saga aired between April 1993 to January 1994 and included episodes 26 through 66. These episodes are adapted from volumes 6 through 13 of the original manga. The Dark Martial Arts Association Begins, The Dark Tournament to The Executors of a Dying Wish. The Chapter Black Saga aired between February 1994 and August 1994 and includes episodes 67 through 94. The Chapter Black Saga was adapted from volumes 13 through 17. The Executors of a Dying Wish to Their Respective Decisions, Separate Choices. The series' final saga, the Saga of the Three Kings, aired from August 1994 to December 1994 and ran from episode 95 through 112. This saga was based on the final 3 volumes of Yoshihiro Togashi's manga, Their Respective Decisions, Separate Choices, the Makai Unification Tournament, the Makai Tournament, and so. The music for this series was composed by Yusuke Hanma. The series features 1 opening, Smile Bomb, by Matsuko Mowatari, and 5 endings, Homework Never Ends, Sayonara Bye Bye, Daydream Generation, which were all also created by Matsuko Mowatari, Give Me an Unbalanced Kiss, and When the Sun Shines Again by Hiro Takahashi. When the series was licensed by Funimation, English versions of each of the previously mentioned songs were created and were produced and arranged by Carl Finch. The English version of Smile Bomb was sung by Sarah White, and the English vocals of the other songs were sung by members of the English cast, including Stephanie Nadolny, Jerry Jewell, and Meredith McCoy. And the English dubbed episodes aired from February 23, 2002 to April 1, 2006 on Cartoon Network. Like the manga, the anime was also incredibly well received. It won Animage's Anime Grand Prix in both 1993 and 1994 for Best Anime, and Hiei and Kurama both won the Anime Grand Prix's Best Male Character Award, Hiei in 1992 and Kurama in 1993 and 1994. There were also 2 non-canonical Yu Yu Hakusho films that were released. The first film, Yu Yu Hakusho, aired during a Japanese film festival on July 10, 1993. The second film, Yu Hakusho, Chapter of the Underworld's Carnage, Bonds of Fire, was released in theaters in Japan on April 9, 1994. While there was a series of short, comedic, and encyclopedic OVAs released in Japan between 1994 and 1996, which were entitled Izo Hakusho, or Image Report, a new OVA will be released on October 26, 2018, based on the two-shot bonus chapter of the manga All or Nothing. Yu Hakusho was also adapted into 21 different video games, with most of them never being released outside of Japan. The only games to make their way westward were Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective for the Game Boy Advance, Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament for the PlayStation 2, and Yu Hakusho Tournament Tactics, also for the Game Boy Advance. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Anime Spotlight, and I hope that you found it informative and at least somewhat entertaining. Please make sure to like the video if you liked the video, and to subscribe and ring the bell if you'd like to be notified every time that I release a new video. And if you liked the video, I'd also appreciate it if you were to share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it as well. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.